Hello everyone, welcome to Fabled Nexus. Today we're here to talk a little bit about Destiny 2. It's gonna be rambling on about, whatever, I guess. But mainly I just want to talk about like a little bit about Destiny 2 and how I think they I guess they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball and never fully picked it back up, in my opinion. Um Now this video is gonna be like none of this is really based on it. It's really just my view of it and how I perceived it over the years because I have played Destiny 2 for pretty much most of its life cycle. There isn't much of Destiny 2's life cycle that I haven't played, especially Destiny 2 and also like Destiny 1. I love Destiny 1. I didn't play as much as Destiny 2, but still over the years I have seen it evolve. I've seen like what they've done with it. I've had the years of the grind, as I would call it. And I'm not full of the grind as much as I used to be, especially in Destiny. Maybe some other games I will be, but in Destiny, my tenure as of the hard grind, as they call it, the grind that you sit there, you're like, yeah, like get on every day, get every exotic, do all this stuff. I don't do it anymore. I don't do it as much as I used to, and that's fine. Like the game is a decade old. I played it forever, and there was some good moments, there's bad moments, and recently there's been a lot more I don't know, not really terrible ones, but it it could be better. Like there's some points of it could be better. And it's okay though. Like we respect it though. We respect that you know there's some point where you just have to go. You have to go. You gotta move on at some point, but it's okay. We still respect it. I mean, I still get on Destiny from time to time, especially when new seasons comes out. I might get on just do the story or something, and then die like that. Um, but yeah, but like I said, I think at one point they try to drop the ball, and once they drop the ball, I feel like sometimes they never fully picked it back up in a sense. And I don't. There's not really fully any points I can be like, oh yeah, that's like the moment. Like that. Oh, right there, that's the moment they dropped the ball. I mean, I think there's been times where they dropped the ball, and there's been times where they did great. But overall, recently, I do feel like, for me, anyways, like they seem to have dropped the ball a lot more, like frequently now. Sometimes, or it's just like it doesn't. It's not the same anymore. Like I said, I played for a long time. I started out as a pretty much a solo player, and then I got into I say guild, but I don't know if it's called a guild in Destiny or not. The clan, the guild, or whatever in Destiny 2, and I was there for a long period, and then slowly people started fading away, and everything, and then I just turned back into a solo player later in my tenure for the most part, and that's what I sit at. I just sat at being a solo player because I was like, okay, cool, it's fine. We were happy with where we was at. Sorry, this like I said, this is no script, just pure discussionary type stuff. And sometimes I just lose my train of thought. I just can't think about fully what I'm gonna talk about. But yeah, but no, like it's like I I liked Destiny. I wasn't a Destiny fan at the beginning. I'm not lie to you. My friend played it. My friend got me into it, and then after he got me into it, I was on the grind, as they say. I was there every time. I pretty much played every season of Destiny, whether I played it just for a little bit or I just kind of slacked off a little bit. I slacked off more like the later half of my tenure, but I don't know. It's just like the gameplay itself. So at some point for me was it's repetitive, yes, but the repetitiveness is not always a problem. It's just, I think how they handle the repetitive, what they brung in, just wasn't fully for me. I wasn't like oh yeah, always I want to just be like that. Like it's the grind was there, and I'm not fully sure how I want to say this, but it's like yeah, like it's like, oh, here's a six-player activity. Okay, cool. Like that's cool, but is the six-player activity fun? Do I want to do it multiple times? Like, is there a dungeon I can go solo at some point that is actually fun to solo and keep trying and trying and trying? And at some points they would have that, and at other points they wouldn't. At other points they would just, like I said, in a sense, they would just like they would drop the ball. And every once in a while, game devs and all stuff, some games like they will drop the ball every once in a while, but sometimes they pick it back up. And Destiny dropped the ball a few times, picked it back up, but then I think also like they never fully pick it back up. There was always kind of fumbling around with it, like not really sure like what to do. And I think there's some points they put stuff in too late. I feel like of their innovation like could have been like better. I don't know. Like for me, I was like, all right, like the innovation. I'm like, yeah, like they have these innovations, all these things, and they did that. But sometimes I feel like it was too late. They thought about these ideas too late. Like there's stuff that we wanted for a long time. They're like, oh, we want to do this, and then this like some people been talking about that for a long time, and then they're just like, yeah, we're gonna add this like at the very end, like stuff like that, like. And some things I was very disappointed in the way that they, went about it. And of course, like they do everything they do in their own way. It's like with crafting. The first thing was crafting, right? The crafting system in Destiny. And I was like, I wasn't, it wasn't a bad system. It's not a bad system, but the way I was thinking about it, and the way it was brought up to me the first time, it was like, it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't what I expected, and it was like okay, because like the way it told me is like, oh, I can make weapons, and you can make god wolves. Like that's like the grind was like okay, it's not like not every weapon was craftable, of course. There were some of the better weapons that wasn't craftable, of course, and all this stuff. But there's just like, oh, do you want like this weapon? Is it craftable? Oh, I just go make the roll you want, And it's good and it's also bad because it's good because yeah, then it's like, oh, you just have to, you know, make sure you have the materials and go get it. That's all it was. Like they simplified the game in such a way that is good for certain people, but for someone like me back at that time, like I wanted the grind. Like I said, the grind is what I was there for. It was like, well, it's the grind's easy now, easier now, and like of course, not a bad thing, but sometimes I'm like, man, I wish like I like the thing of like, oh, you know, that's just not craftable. But of course, like I said, if it's a raid weapons, all this stuff, like I raided a lot, and then I just slowly fell off because most people I raided with just kind of disappeared, and that's fine. Took a step back, and then I was just there myself, and I was never really a big fan of like doing LGs and all that stuff. So, a little bit on me, but I wasn't never a big fan of doing LGs and all this stuff. Like, I was just like, oh well, if I don't get it, I don't get it, you know. And it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, the crafting thing, fine, whatever. And then we talk about prismatic. All right, prismatic. Okay, the final shape introduced prismatic, and I don't know why. It's because I'll get on another point here in a second, but with prismatic, I just felt like most of the builds were the same. Like you use pretty much a lot of builds I would ever see. Like I'm a Titan main, of course, but a lot of the builds I would see and all this stuff, like it wasn't like unique. There's a lot of like ununiqueness in that tenured, right? Like it's like, oh, cool, like you can do this, and it's like, oh, you can pretty much do whatever you want. Like you can make a build whatever you want. That's how I envision it. Like I could have all my subclasses, all my things. I could just make a build that could be just really broken. The build crafting is going through the roof, right? And when we got it, I was kind of like, oh, like it's cool. Like don't get me wrong, it was cool to be able to use like whatever, and it's like, oh, if sometimes prismatic, you just got a 10% buff when using, when you had your buff up or when you transcended, you had the 10% buff to everything and all this stuff. And it became pretty much the normal, like most damages, right? Most people were like, oh yeah, we have this, or whatever. And there's a lot of cool things you can do. There's a lot of good synergies, but like a lot of times everyone would use like the same stuff. Like it's like, oh, the optimal thing. Like I feel like the like creativeness of builds sometimes just went out the window. Like you could still make them cool, I guess, but it wasn't always great. The other thing that I think killed Destiny, which it might not be that bad, but I was talking to my friend about it the other day that used to play Destiny with me a lot. And the reason why he never really came back after they did this point is when they got rid of all the armor things like Warm Mind Cells, Feast of the Light thing, you had wells, you had elemental wells and stuff like that. Like, of course, like it gave the game a very like, I guess like there was so much you could do. There was so much like, of course, like there was always like the optimal builds. Of course, everyone had, but Well, I love using Warmind cells, and my friend had a Warmind cell build that was cracked out of his mind, and someone's calling me. I'll have to answer that in a second. But yeah, it's just like, I'm just like, well, give me one second. Sorry about that. You're not gonna see anything. It's gonna kind of skip ahead. But anyways, sorry, I had my mom called. I had to answer the phone real quick. Sorry about that. You're not gonna see it because we cut it out. But yeah, like I think I was gonna talk about the build capabilities and all that. Like, we had like Warmind cells, all the stuff. Like, yeah, it's just like everything was like, I don't know. I just liked it better at that time. It might just be like, that whole thing of like, like, oh, when you look back at it, it looks great because you look back. It's like it's a different, like right now might not be as good as what you had it like back then, stuff like that. But no, I'm just like, yeah, like, dude, there was so much building. I had all these builds, and I mean, yeah, we could do crazier stuff now. We could do crazy stuff back then, and like I said, there's always the optimal build. But most of the time I wasn't for an optimal build. I mean, I would have some by like accident sometimes, or if I really needed one, I would, you know, I guess I would use one. But for the most part, no. Like I would just build what I thought would be fun to use, and was it always the greatest? No, no, it wasn't. It was fun to use, and sometimes there's a lot of technicalities that I had to be in certain situations to use them effectively that I just couldn't get. That's just how it was sometimes. Like there's some technicalities like, yeah, I just could not get the puck sometimes, and like it's fine, that's fine. I don't always need it, to be that. But when it did work, man, did it work! It was great. I loved it at the time, and I got like the most random builds you've seen in your entire life. Like, I'll flip through a few of them here. This is my Titan, as you can see. He hangs out, has a great time, and it's just like, oh, that would be cool. It's like, hey, that would be cool. Bada bing, bada boom, got him. That's how it worked. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, like when they reduced down everything and there wasn't as much like creativity and how you could build stuff. That's what I don't know. Like I know, like I said, my friend, I talked about it with him, and it's just like, oh, like everyone wants the same stuff, and most time it is true. Like most people run the same stuff, especially like when you see like the streamers and stuff like that or whatever. They mostly they run the same things. Like when they're doing stuff, they have like the most optimal stuff. They're trying to do the most optimal damage, and that's fine though. That's cool. Like at the end of the day, like for me, like if I was like someone was talking about going to play Warframe and stuff at one point, you know, it's like in this game, and I played Borderlands and stuff and all this stuff. Like when you play games like this, I feel like at the end of the day, you want to be able to test your builds at the highest level, right? Because like, oh, you make all these builds and you want to make those broken things. Like that's what the name of the game is. You want to make the most broken shit. Like that is legit it. Like that is what you want to do. Like that's how you want to do it. And I'm no different. I would try to make the most broken stuff I could. I mean, did it work well? No, most time not. Most time I just I would be there chilling and I would just kind of just blow up, and then that was pretty much it. Didn't do much. But it's just like, yeah, like I'm just like, yeah, like boom. I'm like, hey yo, I'm making a build that like I am notorious, and it's always things like, oh, like the one punch build, as they would say back in the day. They still say part of the day, where you would go around, you use Worm Careless, and you would try to like just get the most amount of damage you could in one hit. I mean, I've tried it. The most damage I've ever done in a punch is like 700 or 700k or something under the right conditions. There was some other buffs and stuff I had to be around, but I could do it. Was it the most effective thing in the world? No. And like, bro, like it's back in the day. Well, back in the day, bro, before they nerfed Worm Careless really, really hard, like we would go and I saw a Titan that would just sit there, and I tried a few times. I was never great at it. Like he would use the throwing hammer, we have a little throwing hammer, to like, you would throw it like 4, maybe 5 times, and then Riven would just explode. You would just see Riven explode. Boom, she was done. She was cooked. And it's cool. We like that. We like the polarity of that. And of course it got nerfed. And there's all the things that, Titans have broken over the years that they're like, here, we'll give you this, and then we break it and they would, disable it for a little bit or nerf it or something, because we were very prone to doing that. Other class did as well, of course, but we were pretty prone to magically break the game in many different capacities. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it was a different time. I think fondly about that time most of the time. Just back there playing and same thing. It's cool now. I like it's not it's like it's the most terrible game, and it's probably not in the best place, but you know, I enjoyed playing it for a long time. But like I said, I just feel like when they started taking the more, I don't know, I want to say creativity out of the game, in my opinion, I guess is the best way to word that. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they ever really got it back fully. Like, and of course they're gonna be adding like with Frontiers, all this stuff. Like, I hear people talk about, like, oh, is Frontiers gonna bring it back? I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think at this point. I think Destiny's at the end of his life cycle. It's been there for probably since like Lightfall, and especially since Lightfall. Like, I think the final shape brought a lot of people back, but after the initial wave of the final shape, it kind of just went down after that. There wasn't much else after that one. Like that's pretty much, as one would say, like the peak. Whatever. Like that's what it is. I feel like that is where it stands. It peaked a little bit in the final shape, and then after that, like kind of just, it went down. It went down from there. And I don't think it's ever gonna go back to what it was, like when it comes to like how many people was in the thing and how the game feels. It's never gonna capture that like motif again. That motif is gone. That feeling is gone, and we're never gonna get that back. Like it's just not gonna happen. Like that's just how it's gonna work. In my opinion, that's how it is. But like I said, it's okay. We don't mind it. We're good. We don't mind it. It's I don't know. I feel like at this point I don't really know. And like I said, like I said, people talk about Frontiers and the next step in Destiny, and I'm just like, hey, I'm good with just every once in a while getting back on, just mess around and find out. I don't need to get everything anymore. I don't need to be the best anymore. Or be the best, but I don't really need to get the best stuff. I'm just hanging out. I'm just hanging out until I deal on the next grind heavy game I get on, which may or may not be Warframe. We don't know. But yeah, but nevertheless, I'd like to hear what you guys think about Destiny 2. Like, what do you think? Like, where they dropped the ball, and if they ever did pick it back up, fully pick it back up, or they still dropping the ball. They still be dropping the ball sometimes. But where are you at? You can let me know in the comments below. But yeah, if you guys liked everything, you guys can like, subscribe, do that fun stuff if you feel like it's always appreciated. And yeah, peace, my dudes. Have a good day.